Atlantic, bringing rip currents to Florida and the Caribbean, but forecasters say it's unlikely to hit the East Coast. New England remains on alert as there's a small chance the storm could impact the region over the weekend. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Seeing several tops and delays. A wreck in El Monte, troubles in West Covina and Willowbrook. That's a broken down vehicle on the 105 East, East 105 at Central. Onto the right shoulder might be affecting the off ramp there. Linwood on the 105. It's a collision West 105 at Garfield towards the top of the on ramp. Traveling that 10 right as you get towards Azusa. Eastbound 10 at Azusa Avenue, West Covina. Stalled vehicle towards the off ramp here. And El Monte R10 East, East 10 just before Durfee Garvey is where we have a crash onto the right side. Stay over to the left.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift. Good towards pillows and more.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
Here's the most important statistic from week 1 of the NFL season. 14 NFL teams started a black quarterback. That's the highest number in league history for any weekend. Almost half of the NFL's 32 teams started a black quarterback. There's a lot to criticize about the NFL, but it's obvious that progress and diversity has come to the quarterback position. The winners, Jalen Hurts of Philadelphia, Cleveland's Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson of Baltimore, Dak Prescott of Dallas, Jordan Love of Green Bay, and Desmond Ridder of Atlanta. The NBA Board of Governors are expected to approve a new rule that punishes teams for resting players for national TV games. Teams will also be fined for allowing multiple All-Stars to sit out a game if they're not injured. Fines could get as high as $1 million. Hope the Clippers get this memo. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
I'm Tavis, Smiley, and I'm delighted to have you in with us in this hour. What an hour it's going to be. We've had 2 great hours already today on the program, but I've been looking forward to this hour. In this hour, 2 conversations all about fashion, given that it's Fashion Week in New York City. On the B side of this hour, author Nichelle Gainer joins us in dialogue about her meticulously curated collection of photographs spanning nearly a century of Black beauty and style. It's called Vintage Black Glamour, and I look forward to talking to Nichelle Gainer on the B side of this hour. But I am delighted to commence this hour in conversation with the pioneering fashion icon, Bethann Hardison, about her new documentary, Invisible Beauty. Take a listen.
I always know you can change things. I've done it before. Everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion. That directly stems from the work that Bethann did.
Without her, the opportunities wouldn't exist for me to do what I love.
She's like a second mother to me.
That one shining light of kindness.
We're all students of Bethann Hardison.
And I always say, just, a hammock and a tequila, I'm good. You heard it first.
She's the godmother of fashion.
When I started, I was the first black-looking model on 7th Avenue.
There was no people look like me. I knew the difference of segregation from childhood. These people thought that we were less. I let them know we are here.
She realized she was the message. She represents this power.
A lot of designers did not use models of color.
No blacks, no ethnics.
You don't know what it's like to be invisible.
Where are the Black girls?
I started the Black Girls Coalition.
She moved our glamour and our good looks into the arena of activism. She's a game changer.
She sacrificed a lot. My mother has enough ambition for the whole world.
It's really hard as a single mom. I was scared to fail.
She wants us to win more than anything. It gets a little challenging at times.
But that's going to be part of your great story. I don't know who I think I am, but I do be trying. We want to provoke conversation. We want to provoke ideas. I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm here to bring everybody up.
Bethann was able to unify us.
She has changed the way beauty is defined.
But I still want to do more things.
There are a lot of young people out there who really have something to say. And they come along like a tsunami. They come along as a wave.
The game's not over.
Once you meet this person, it's going to change your life.
Let's shake it up.
Whether you like it or not.
Invisible Beauty is one of the best docs I've seen in quite a while. It's in theaters later this week, September 15th to be exact, but I am pleased right now to be joined by the legendary black model and advocate for diversity in the fashion industry, Bethann Hardison. Ms. Hardison, how are you today?
Thank you so much. I'm very well. Nice speaking to you. It's been a long time that we've been trying to do this.
Well, it has been a while. I'm glad we finally got it done, and thank you for the time that we do have. Let me just start. As I said, I saw the doc. It's beautifully done, and I know others will not be disappointed when they get a chance to check this one out. And I just want to start with a broad question, given all that you have done and continue to do, and the audience can hear some of that in the trailer we just played for them. What drives you? What's been motivating you and animating you all these years to do all that you've done?
Oh, I think believing in someone, believing in others when they see them going in a rabbit hole, and you know that in your heart you don't believe that they really are, the results of what their actions are. So you just got to think that, okay, let me just get to them and have a conversation. Show them the way of the way they're going, and to see if they would think that that's what they intended. And so I think it's because I believe that my industry really basically shouldn't be responsible for even thinking that they were racist. So I think that's what really drove me. I believed in them.
Mm-hmm. What has it been like? Again, people can see, all kinds of anecdotes, and hear anecdotes and see all kinds of evidence of the work and witness. I would put it that way: the work and witness you've been engaged in for all these decades. But what's it been like saving the fashion industry from itself?
It's interesting. It's good to understand that this is not everyone says, oftentimes, this is your life's work. And I keep saying, it wasn't my life's work. They said, in your career. And I keep saying, it's not in my career. But I think what winds up happening is that you get to a place and you're not doing it all the time. It's not happening all the time. It's just something you keep your eye on. But there was a moment I really had to get involved deeply, and there's there's just different moments that come upon you that makes that happen. But I didn't have to do it all the time. Yeah. It's just every so often something would happen, and I'd have to poke somebody and say, wait a minute, now, you know how that sounds? You want to book 2 black models, and how many are you going to use? 34. You have 34 models, you only want 2. You have to sort of like make them sort of see how that sounds. And then they recognize it, And I'm glad I was in that position. I'm glad I am in that position because I'm successful in this wide environment of the garment industry and the model industry and the designers world.
Yeah. Bethann Hardison, as you heard moments ago say, she has not had to do it every day, but there have been moments that she had to get deeply involved, and there was a particular moment she referenced where she got all the way in. We'll talk about that moment and a great deal more when we come forward, talking about the new documentary, Invisible Beauty. Our guest is Bethann Hardison on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. IQ. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly, we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with the CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
You're listening to K-Trip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Trip.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to health care, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
The documentary about the pioneering fashion icon, Bethann Hardison, is called Invisible Beauty. Hits theaters on September the 15th. There are a lot of beautiful people in this documentary, many of whom known by just one name, Iman, Naomi. And in case you didn't know, Bethann Hardison has a son named Kadeem Hardison. You remember Kadeem from Different World and all the other great stuff he's done? That is her son. And so there are a lot of great people in this documentary. And the story of her relationship with Kadeem is they unpack it beautifully in this documentary. And it's great to hear him in his own voice talk about his mother and the relationship and how it grew and the challenges to that relationship. It's again a lot packed into this 2-hour documentary. Let me go right quickly though to that point you made a moment ago, Bethann Hardison, when you said it's not something you had to do or fight every single day, but there were moments you had to get in and poke people. But you made reference to that moment where you really had to get deeply involved. That moment was what?
when I actually had to. Well, first in 2007, I held a press conference. That helped to change some things. But then it would go up and then it would slide back. Then it would go up a little bit and they start to integrate. And model agencies could start to have black girls and I'd always say, they're not taking black girls this season, because at one point they would say that. Well, now they don't say that anymore. They might still not do it, but they'd say it anymore. Well, then by 2007 went on through, I did many town hall meetings and all. But in 2013, I wrote the letters to every fashion council in the international component, so with New York, London, Milan, and Paris, and wrote on to each one of those councils just speaking of every designer that was guilty of either using one or no black models consistently for 2 or 3 seasons. And I said, whether it's your intention or not, the result is racism. And that letter went to the press as well.
Yeah. What did you learn from that experience of calling people out, as we say, calling folk on the carpet?
Well, I think because I believed in the industry in a way. A lot of people say, but they're racist, let's give it the benefit of the doubt and see if you go in with a softer touch, if you get a better result. And I think that's what I got. I mean, I didn't go in it slaying people. I made sense of the paragraph that I made, and it didn't say that they were racist. I just said the act. If you're not conscious, that's what it is. So I think what I did was able to get that clear to them, and I had immediate reaction of change. They immediately, by the time we got to London, they changed it. Italy, they changed. They started putting girls of color in the shows, and it just changed. But that's the thing I learned from it, is that sometimes you just have to, whether you don't want to or not, but you have to poke the bear and hope that you get good results.
Yeah. I'm not naive in asking this question. Clearly, racism has already come up a few times in this conversation. But yet, I'm probing for something deeper, and maybe there is nothing deeper. You tell me, Bethann Hardison. But why is it? Given how spectacular they are. I mean, somebody made the point, and it's true. It comes up in the documentary that can't nobody walk a runway like a black woman can. It's the personality, the individuality, the style. Can't nobody walk a runway like a black woman can, and yet people knew that. And to your earlier point, they would say we're not using any black girls this season. My question is why? The intense denial of black women in these fashion houses and on these in these fashion shows for so long. Why the pushback?
Because they met a new girl. What happened is that the Eastern Wall, say the block, say like Berlin Wall, use that as a perfect example, came down, where before we couldn't go into Eastern Europe in scout models. Well, all of a sudden there were scouts going into Eastern Europe and bringing models slowly into America. Well, in Europe as well. And the casting directors that were working for these different designers start discovering these other girls. And it was a concept of understanding no longer the supermodel, no longer the glamorous girl, not even Linda Evangelista they wouldn't have booked because they didn't want anything to distract from the clothes. This was like a new sheriff in town. It was a different vibe. But what happened is that it went on and on too long. Instead of it just going maybe a season or two and that was just a little moment, it went on and started going on for years. The black model was just replaced. The unfortunate thing about it is that she was already there. She got replaced. It wasn't like we were trying to find her space to get into. She had been there, and then they just stopped using black models. And one designer to do it, and then everybody else follows because that becomes a trend that seems normal. Yeah. That was the problem.
Yeah. Was there a price that you paid or have paid for being so outspoken?
The price I paid is they gave me an award. Sorry. CFDA, the Council of Fashion Designers of America, which represents New York, they gave me an award for my actions and the fact that I turned the industry around internationally. So from Milan to Paris to London to New York. Yes, I got the Founders Award in 2014. So I'd say that's the only prize I paid.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because you must be the only Negro in history, certainly in late modernity, who received an award for calling white folk out. I've never known anybody other than you.
I tell you, I too was impressed I actually became emotional.
Yeah.
People would say, you're going to get an award for doing this. Like I said, no, these people ain't going to give me an award. They probably want me to just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I did it in a very nice way. It was never anything that made people feel bad.
Yeah.
It was very much like it was like a well awakening of truth.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was really you saw the results, and it's almost like I knew in my heart they didn't want to ever, not creative people, they never want to think of themselves as being racist because they're not. In their minds, they're not. Surely being a liberal is borderline racist oftentimes. But in this particular case, I just had to go in believing.
Yeah. I want to follow you on something you just said a moment ago, and I'm glad you went there because it gives me a way to get in. I didn't necessarily know how to broach this subject matter, but as I watched the documentary and just was enthralled by what I was witnessing, you used the word emotional earlier. You said I even got a little emotional. So by your own admission, it's not something that you necessarily do every day. And as I watched you move and watched your career unfold in this doc. I saw somebody who was very focused, who was very matter of fact about what they were doing, but I didn't see somebody who was overly emotional about a situation that you could have been emotional about, particularly given that you and others were being sidelined. But I never really saw the emotional response. I never saw an emotional outburst. I just saw you knowing what you had to do and going about your business. Is that who you are?
Yeah, well, in this particular case, yes, because it's like playing chess. You have to know your opponent, and you have to take your time with it. I just honestly really recognize exactly what it was that was necessary, and I think it was very important to not to come with a big stick. Just going soft, and because I believed them. I believed that if they realized what they were doing and how they were affecting society and how they were coming off, if the light was put on them, I knew right away they would change their attitude. So for me, it was something that I really was very happy that they did that because I believed they would, and they did. Yeah. So it was very much a thing of like, whew, job well done. But a lot of people say when they watch a film how graceful I am. I've heard that so many times. The Q&As are really good because they express a lot of things that you made a film. I didn't know the film would make people cry, and people, I'm sure they laugh because I'm comedic, I'm quick with it. But the emotion that everybody, men, women, even teenage kids were telling me they cried. Yeah. Well, I think it's really the way that I go about it. But I honestly didn't think anything other than the fact that, yeah, we gotta. This can be done. This could be solved. I pray with fingers crossed, Yeah. But I didn't get emotional during any time of it. I really didn't, and you're right about that. And the grace of it all, I love that people said that to me because it helped me to see me in that light as well.
Well, you are quite graceful. So let me just add my voice to all the other voices, underscoring how graceful you are in life and certainly in this documentary. I want to throw. I'm looking at my time here. I got like 7 minutes left, and I want to make the most of it. I want to throw a few things at you and get you to just respond because these things come up in the documentary. The Battle of Versailles. I've had conversations in my career just about that. Because for those who know anything about black fashion or about fashion, period, you cannot be unaware of the impact that this had. But I'm wondering specifically how that battle, what that battle did to give you purpose, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, people feel that way. I've heard even when Patricia Cleveland says that in the film, that she believed that watching this, she was with us. I mean, she was with me. That gave me purpose. Maybe subconsciously it did, not consciously it didn't. I think everything that you do when there's an achievement and people, you hear the roar of a crowd and people commend you and give you a bravo, especially in a foreign land, it gives you confidence. It gives you more confidence, whether you know it or not. Subconsciously, yes, it does. So I think for that, with Versailles, it was very special because of what it was.
Yeah. I want to mention the names of 3 or 4 black men. We think of fashion. We tend to think of women, and certainly talking about black women in this conversation with you. I want to mention the names of a few men and just get you to give me a top line on the role these men played in your life. Let me start with Willie Smith.
Oh yes, Willie was. He discovered me. Just seeing me in the neighborhood of the garment industry and thinking I was a designer, and he just loved my style. He would see me on the street. We never met until he had someone seek me out and had me come and meet him for breakfast with him and a friend of his. So he became the person who really was my inspiration. That's for sure. He really believed in me.
Yeah. Stephen Burrows.
And Stephen Burrows, who's another, a person that I inspired him. I was Willie's muse. I became then his muse, but I worked with Stephen full time. And the good thing about that is that we got this opportunity for both of them. I was instrumental in getting both of them museum shows. It's so rare that any designer, no matter what your color, gets a museum show. Mm-hmm. But I was able to do it with Willie and also with Stephen. And I'm very proud of that because they both deserved it very much.
Yeah. So in some regards, Willie Smith and Stephen Burrows helped introduce us to Bethann Hardison, but Bethann Hardison then pays it forward and introduces us to a handsome model named Tyson Beckford. Bethann, say a word about Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson. Now he was the one to beat. I mean, he came along, and I the blessing is that I decided to take him because he was a good-looking kid, and we had a small agency. It was very strict about how many people we handled and all. But I was very happy that spending that time with Tyson. Within a year, he was working for Ralph Lauren, and in that time frame, we didn't have a contract. So then the contract turned from 1 year to 2 years. The next thing you know, we had it for 5 years. And then we also had the Polo fragrance contract, which was another phenomenal move. And we traveled. And the great thing about Ralph Lauren was that he's one of the highest paid, advertiser around the world. So you can go anywhere and see his ads. And Tyson, because of that, Tyson became really a notable person that was related to the brand. And you could see his face anywhere. We went to Malaysia just to do like what we call an appearance. And you just wouldn't think there would be that little Muslim girls out there with a calendar. I used to do calendars on Tyson, one in a sign. It's just, he really had a great effect that went worldwide, which is really wonderful.
Yeah. One last male name that I want to mention, Kadeem Hardison. Who I've known over the years, of course, here in L.A., where I live, and where he, of course, did a lot of work. I was moved by his part in the documentary because it opened up and shared a part about your backstory, about his backstory, about your relationship that I didn't know. But you got to be vulnerable at times to kind of put that relationship on the screen. But the both of you did it, though.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm glad you're saying that because the good thing about me having the role of being a co-director, I chose not to be in any of the interviews. I just wanted my co-director and the team to just be there. And it was interesting for me to see that once the film came together and he got 4 hours of footage that he wanted to show me, to see Kadeem's interview was really very telling for me too, because he just really sat there, and they said it was a long interview. And he just shared. And it was nice for me to see that he could honor up that way. Yeah. Because he just disappears. We're not a dysfunctional family. He just disappears. And he's such a great guy. You don't want him disappearing because he's funny. We laugh a lot. But like he explained, when he don't feel good about him, the last person he wants to talk to is a person he feels would, not even if I would judge him, he wants to be able to say something great. Yeah.
No, it's a beautiful part of the doc every time he shows up, and so I'm glad you all made the decision to do that. In the 90 seconds I have left, not enough time with you given your immense career. Let me close with this, though. What does it feel like when this thing is all said and done and you're sitting back and you're looking at all of these models who we just adore, from Iman to Naomi, run the list, I don't have the time. But they're on film talking about you and how you changed the world for them. How do you process looking at that?
Oh, what I can say about that? I think it's fair to say I'm so happy it's been documented. Mm-hmm. Because what you really want to do is you want this film to really be a legacy film. I mean, really, like you want it to live in institutes in perpetuity. You just want everyone to be able to come and see it because I don't think it has a timeline on it. And I think that so many people have known me 25, 30 years, never knew the story, the whole story, the background. And it's not my career. It's just a story. It's not my life. It's just a story. And it's a long, in-depth story because it ran for a period of time. So for me, I'm just very happy that we got it done. And I'm so much more happier that everyone loves the film, and it's been a crowd pleaser, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, it's a rich story and a story beautifully told, including, of course, your work with the Black Girls Coalition. There's a lot in it. And as I said earlier, people will not be disappointed, as I was not when I got a chance to see it. It's called Invisible Beauty. It is about the story, this part of her story, I should say, the pioneering fashion icon and advocate for fairness, fundamental fairness and diversity and equity in the fashion industry, Bethann Hardison. Bethann Hardison, good to have you on. A great honor. Thank you for the time and all the best to you.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for coming on. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Welcome to a Tuesday. It's September 12th. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. NBA player African-American Kevin Porter Jr. is under arrest for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend. That's what led to charges of domestic violence. He plays for the Houston Rockets, but the investigation is underway in New York City. That's where Porter was staying with his girlfriend, former WNBA player Kaiser Gondrezick. There was a fight and allegations that he choked her. That's what led to the charges of domestic violence. We're now learning that people who stay up late are at great risk of developing type 2 diabetes. A new study out in the Annals of Internal Medicine finds that night owls tend to eat worse and exercise less. The night owls studied had a 19% greater chance of developing diabetes. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and VINnews.com.
Causing delays in Carson, 405 north at Alameda Street. That off-ramp closed until 3. Traffic is stopped from Cherry Avenue north. And in Torrance, 405 south before Western Avenue, a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane. That has traffic jammed up from Crenshaw. In Encino, a wreck on the 101 north at White Oak, clearing from the center divider area.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift, good towards pillows and more. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? Here's a hint. Fall finds for $25 and under, like sharp blazers, cozy sweaters, cargo pants, jackets, and more. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's Backstage store near you.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Here's the most important statistic from week 1 of the NFL season. 14 NFL teams started a black quarterback. That's the highest number in league history for any weekend. Almost half of the NFL's 32 teams started a black quarterback. There's a lot to criticize about the NFL, but it's obvious that progress and diversity has come to the quarterback position. The winners, Jalen Hurts of Philadelphia, Cleveland's Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson of Baltimore, Dak Prescott of Dallas, Jordan Love of Green Bay, and Desmond Ridder of Atlanta. The NBA Board of Governors are expected to approve a new rule that punishes teams for resting players for national TV games. Teams will also be fined for allowing multiple All-Stars to sit out a game if they're not injured. Fines could get as high as $1 million. Hope the Clippers get this memo. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Extended Family Outreach Ministry presents Praise Fest 2023, Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. Morning worship, keynote address, and conference featuring women in creative arts ministry and leadership sharing our stories, His glory, giving all praise, honor, thanksgiving, and glory to God. Don't miss the afternoon Stand Up and Sing Praises concert with the Katinas, gospel singer Babby Mason, Three Daughters, and Kevin Click. That's Praise Fest 2023, Worthy to be Praised Conference and Concert, September 23rd, Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. For more information and tickets, go to Praise Fest 2023 at eventbrite.com. Plus, for the next 48 hours, use promo code KBLA48 to get your tickets free. You do not want to miss this day of praise. That's Praise Fest 2023 at eventbrite.com.
Hi, this is LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to the 28th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Fest on September the 23rd from 11 to 7 p.m. For nearly 3 decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has paid homage to the legendary Central Avenue and its influence on jazz history. Jazz, blues, and Latin jazz will be featured on 3 stages of music. Co-headlining are Hubert Laws with special guest Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. Hubert Laws with special guests Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. For more information, visit CentralAveJazzFest.com. CentralAveJazzFest.com. See you on the 23rd.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
As I promised, this entire hour would be all about fashion, given this is a fashion week, but we're talking about black fashion. We just had a great conversation with Bethann Hardison, in case you missed it. Check out our podcast and listen at your leisure. She has a new doc out called Invisible Beauty. It hits theaters on September the 15th, later this week. But just a delight to have had the opportunity to talk to Bethann Hardison for those moments about her new documentary. Now, pleased to welcome Nichelle Gainer to this program. She's author of Vintage Black Glamour and Vintage Black Glamour Gentlemen's Quarters. And these are meticulously curated books of photographs, collections of photographs, spanning nearly a century of black beauty and style, shedding light on an often overlooked African-American impact in this business. And I'm pleased to welcome Nichelle Gainer to this program. Nichelle, how are you?
I'm fine, Tavis. How are you?
Doing the best I can. If I complained about being ingrate, I'm delighted to have you on. I have the books in front of me on the desk here, and they are a thing of beauty. You heard me say a moment ago, we just had a great dialogue with Bethann Hardison. And I wanted
amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing. She is amazing. And I wanted to spend this entire hour, again, talking about black fashion, given, again, what's happening in New York City, even as we speak. Tell me, though, first, about your approach to the subject matter. You're looking at something that, again, spans 100 years. That's a lot to dig into. So put me in the right frame for how you approach this.
Okay, well, you mentioned Fashion Week, and fashion is certainly involved, but my interest was, the style and substance behind it all,
sure.
Behind the pretty dresses, behind the pretty faces. And I thought I was writing a novel initially. I was at Schomburg doing some research, and I came across a picture, and I recognized this beautiful woman as my aunt, Margaret Tynes. She had a 50-year career in opera. She sang with Duke Ellington and W.C. Handy, Harry Belafonte. She did a show with him off Broadway called Sing Man Sing. And so I'm like, what? I knew about her because of our family reunion. Black families in our family reunion, the family reunion book. She was a big star of that. And when I was a teenager. And so I said, there must be other black women just like this that I haven't heard of. I know Dorothy Dandridge. I know Lena Horne, but there must be more, and I was right. And I figured that, this needs to be in the book. People are interested in this. There is, I got turned down a lot. People say, oh, are people going to be interested? Are black people going to buy this? Can they afford this? Well, yes, they can. It turns out black people love coffee table books with black people in it.
When you reasoned correctly, obviously, that there had to be others that you would find in your research. When you got into it, how blown away were you by all that you found?
Oh my God. I can't even tell you. There are so many people in my books. In the first book, there's Eartha Kitt, there's Lena Horne, everyone knows them, but there's also people like Blanche Dunn, who was like an it girl of the Harlem Renaissance. Langston Hughes himself said, "A party is not a party, a place is not a place without Blanche." She was at all the parties, black and white, gay and straight, uptown and downtown in New York. She was from the West Indies. She never specified where. She never specified her age. You can get away with that back in the day. But she was everywhere. And so that, Madam C.J. Walker's daughter, Amelia, who threw all of the great parties during the Harlem Renaissance, she had parties in Harlem and also in Westchester at the famous Villa Lewaro estate. She famously, for instance, had a party where the white guests were served pig feet and hog maws, and the black guests were served champagne and caviar. That kind of stuff. So I like telling stories like that about the black folks that we don't always hear about. So I want, I'm talking about the legends we know and the legends that we don't know, men and women.
Yep. When you get a chance to curate two texts like these, just top line for me the commentary that comes to you, the commentary that you could write about what you've witnessed, what you've seen.
Well, usually I'm looking for the stories that kind of jump out at me that kind of illustrate our humanity. Yes, it's common, we know it, but certain things, even to other black folks, I want people to realize that these were people. These weren't just, people that we put on the pillar. These were artists. They were, creative artists who were sensitive about their ish. They were creatives during a time where, the racism was not so, it was legal, not that it ever left, but, they navigated things that we don't have to navigate today. Not that we don't have a lot to navigate, but I just find it fascinating that even during the 1920s and 30s, you just have it in your mind, I'm going to try to be a model. I'm going to be an actress, during such serious times. And that the bravery, the strength it took to, to come up with that, to do the work that it takes, because also it's not just, like I said, it's beyond style. It's also substance. There's a lot of rehearsals involved, dance rehearsals, vocal lessons, study, taking care of your body. There's a lot of work behind the scenes. So I try to pull out a lot of the creative stories, some of the unique anecdotes that people may not have heard. People may not have known that Dorothy Dandridge and her best friend used to throw barbecues for the old Black Hollywood set back when they were married to the Nicholas brothers in the 40s, stuff like that. So I want to tell the stories that you're not going to see in an encyclopedia entry, say, or in their obituary. Something that you're going to see beyond an article.
Yeah. Talk to me about black elegance and how that phrase became more informed for you doing this research.
Well, but the elegance for me, it became more informed because, to me, like I said, the style is beyond having a beautiful dress or a pretty face. It's the energy, the substance behind it. If you are impeccable like a Diane Carroll, it's beyond your pretty face. It's the elegance, it's the strength, it's the talent, it's the quality that you bring to your work. That's those people don't last for 40, 50 years for nothing.
Yeah.
So that to me, that is the glamour and elegance that interests me. Yeah. So as long as it's beyond a pretty face, someone like a Dorothy Dandridge. We love everyone. We love Beyonce. Everyone talks about Beyonce's amazing work ethic, but she comes from a heritage of that.
Sure.
I've posted many pictures of Dorothy. In fact, there's a picture. I don't know if it's in my book. I forget, but there's a picture of her rehearsing with Phil Moore, the great black vocal coach, who was in my men's book, who was in the Gentleman's Quarters book. So he trained Lena Horne, Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, Dorothy Dandridge, all the stars back then. This black man was their vocal coach. There's pictures of her rehearsing and dance rehearsing. There's so much. I just want to stress the work and the artistry behind their legends.
Yeah. I am always struck by, and this stuff comes out over time, and every time it comes out, I feel a little stupid that I didn't know about person X, Y, or Z.
Now, don't feel stupid. It wasn't in the textbook. You
weren't
meant to know.
I get it. I totally get it. And that's my point, that there are so many remarkable lives, so many remarkable black lives that for so long have been overlooked. And that just troubles me. It troubles me greatly.
Yeah, and that was the point of me doing these books. And in fact, I just finished the third one.
Okay.
That's coming out next April. So that's I basically tried to fit in all the people I couldn't fit into the first book, the first two books. And you can't do it because luckily there's been as the generations went on, there have been so many more stars,
Yeah.
So it's not like there were just 2 or 3 of them. For each generation, more and more came along. So it's the last one that I'm doing. So, I mean, people like Beyonce and Queen Latifah are in it because I'm trying to round it off here. I'm not going to do it the rest of my life. But I just wanted to acknowledge the artistry and the strength of these black artists and also business people, especially in the men's book. I have an entire section on black entrepreneurs, usually artists. I mean, like Berry Gordy, Gamble and Huff. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so I had to include them in there. So that's my reasoning behind it, to kind of put something for posterity, to put their names in the book, especially people that you're not going to see often. I mean, Phyllis Hyman is in my women's book. I have Melba Moore in there. I have, names like Olivette Miller that people have probably never heard of, but she was like a celebrity kid. Her father was Flournoy Miller, who was one of the producers behind Shuffle Along, the first black Broadway show.
Sure.
So he was a big deal. He was a writer on the Amos and Andy TV show in the 50s. He was a big celebrity. I mean, people forget that there are people who were famous for years and years and then forgotten.
Yeah. It turns out, as Nichelle Gainer said earlier, that black people do like coffee table books that feature beautiful black people. And that's exactly what she's given us in this collection called Vintage Black Glamour. Her name is Nichelle Gainer. You're listening to her right now on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Dom Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility, not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Carson, get back! Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and it's time I up my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Nichelle Gainer, you were talking earlier about the ways in which, as you tried to bring these books, these texts to life, there were folk who didn't quite get it. And I know this story myself. I've written a few books in my career, and oftentimes people don't get the frame that you're trying to put them in, and you end up getting turned down. How did you navigate the rejections?
Yeah, I just kept. What happened for me is the internet, social media. I had a lot of people. Initially the book. I told you that I discovered my aunt in those pictures, and initially the book that I was writing was called A Diva in the Family. I was going to write a little memoir. In the a couple hundred years ago, in the late '90s, I was an assistant editor at GQ magazine. So I met a lot of people during that time, and I was trying to get everyone that I worked. Not everyone, but many people that I worked with got book deals, writing memoirs about maybe a unique family member of theirs or something, whatever. But for whatever reason, I could just never get on that train. As social media came about years later, I put it online, and it kind of blew up, as they say, on Tumblr, on Facebook. It was everywhere. And my publisher approached me. I actually got a message from my publisher, and they're based in London. They're not even Americans. These are British folks, and they publish these beautiful coffee table books, and I checked them out, and they seem legit, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And here we are about 10 years later.
Yeah. What did you learn from that experience? I'm talking now about the internet. What did you learn from that experience about the kinds of things that black folk do, in fact, crave?
It kind of was confirmation for me that I wasn't crazy, that there were other people out there that I knew that if I was fascinated by this, and I consider myself pretty smart, and I'm like, why didn't I know about this part, just like you were saying earlier? And I knew there were other black folks out there. It was not in our textbook. We're used to being self-styled detectives. We're used to looking up our history that's not in books and having it passed down, that kind of thing. So I knew there was an audience, A. And because of the way things fly, now algorithms are more controlled, but when they were less controlled, when people could decide for themselves, I saw the interest. I saw interest from even people who are not black. People were interested in fascinating stories and in other art and other creative stories, that kind of thing. So it kind of proved me right, basically. And also, I learned that you can't control everything. It's not. I wish I could. Some things that I find fascinating and interesting, I found that people maybe weren't as interested in. They maybe just wanted to see more so the Eartha Kitts and the Josephine Bakers and Sidney Poitiers and that kind of thing. They were more interested in which is fine, because there are always great stories to tell about that. But I always try to tell the stories of some of the lesser-known artists, like, say, Hilda Sims. Hilda Sims was an actress in the 60s who was blacklisted. During the blacklist, people don't really talk about the black artists who were blacklisted, who were political at that time and when it was not popular. And Hilda Sims was a light-skinned black actress who could have played all kinds of things, but she said, no, I'm black. I'm not going to pretend I'm not black. And she paid for it.
Nope. The one person we talk about in that regard is Paul Robeson, of course, but beyond Robeson, we don't get too deep into all those black talents who were blackballed in that era. It's a wonderful collection. It's called Vintage Black Glamour. It reveals in some stunning photographs nearly a century of black beauty and fashion and style. The author of this series is Nichelle Gainer. More with her when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Extreme heat can make you very sick and can be deadly. For Californians 65 and over, it's important to have a plan. Ask your healthcare provider if your medications affect your ability to cool down. Know the signs of heat illness and stroke, as well as the location of your nearest cooling center or air-conditioned space. And if you have loved ones over 65, be sure to check in on them on hot days. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Let's get back to Nichelle Gainer in these 3 minutes that I have left in this conversation, talking about her beautiful text, these coffee table books that are gorgeous. They're called Vintage Black Glamour. The second one is Vintage Black Glamour, Gentleman's Quarters. And the third, Nichelle, is going to be called what?
Vintage Black Glamour Encore.
I like it, Encore. And when's that one? When's the third one dropping?
April 2024.
Got it. Okay, we'll get ready for that.
Yeah, in the meantime, I have a planner that's in between it, a timeless planner, which is a dateless calendar book with Josephine Baker on the cover. So, like I was telling you earlier, to satisfy those folks.
No, I love it. Again, they're gorgeous books. The photos and the stories about these beautiful, stylish, elegant black people it's rich, and yet you don't shy away from the struggle that these black folk had to navigate to be seen as beautiful, elegant, and stylish.
Oh, not at all. I mean, you mentioned Paul Robeson earlier. I wanted to make sure that he was in there. I had to make sure that I put every little thing about Paul Robeson in there, and I wanted to not only talk about, say, Eartha Kitt and Sammy Davis Jr., and Dorothy Dandridge and Nat King Cole, but talk about the struggles they had in Hollywood. Dorothy Dandridge and Nat King Cole they pitched a show starring themselves around Hollywood that was turned down, kind of in an I Love Lucy vein. Turned down. Eartha Kitt and Sammy Davis Jr. were in a movie called Anna Lucasta, and they had to write letters to Southern theater owners stating that the film was not indecent and all this other nonsense, all this, and they put their own money in the film too. People never talk about that.
Yeah. No, this is a struggle to be seen for who you are. So you said earlier that you're going to stop after this third one, the Encore project, and yet I know there must be a whole lot more there to excavate if you have the time.
Yeah, I want to use other mediums, and
Sure.
so once the writer's strike is over, I've been working with a set of producers on a docuseries version of the book,
cool.
So that's I'm hoping to get. We've been doing that for a couple of years. I'm sure you've heard a thing or two about Hollywood development. So, so that's. I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm going to do my own podcast, and just try some other things. So yeah.
It is a brilliant idea. I'm glad somebody got around to doing it. Again, the cover of the book, the feel of it, the fabric. It's beautiful. Say nothing of the photos and the stories. It's just richly done. You have done justice to all these black people and their elegant, beautiful, stylish selves in this series called Vintage Black Glamour. Was the first one. Vintage Black Glamour, Gentleman's Quarters was the second, and Vintage Black Glamour Encore is the third. Her name is Nichelle Gainer. Nichelle, thanks for bringing this to us, and good to have you on this program.
Thank you so much, Tavis.
Thank you for your time. That's our program for today. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again, 3 hours. Moves fast on days when you have great talkers and great subjects. And so I thank all of our guests for being on this program today. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
I feel it. Your love is fading. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Your love is fading. I feel it.
KBLA 15.